I'm super excited to have Matt Scannell on the line tonight. Matt, you won't know this, but man, you guys are seriously a band that I have followed for so long and love so much. And I have a great album out called Echoes from the Underground. Matt, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks so much, K-Rock. I appreciate it, man. I really do.
So, hey, man, let's get right into it and talk about Echoes from the Underground. I've been chomping at the bit for this album to come out. And tell me a little bit about how it's going already and for the fans that haven't heard you guys since the last record, what to expect.
Well, you know, it's first of all, it's going great. I mean, we're so lucky and really fortunate to have fans who have followed us and supported us for all these years, and it's incredible to be able to make new music and have people want to hear it so many years in. I mean, I come from an intense place of gratitude and thankfulness. And so, you know, for me, stylistically and musically, I feel like this record, you know, we really tried to push some of the boundaries of what Vertical Horizon was supposed to do. I feel like Go, Everything You Want, and Burning the Days were almost like a trilogy of a stylistic trilogy in some ways. And I think Burning the Days hinted at some of the directions that we went in with Echoes from the Underground. But I think it's more fully realized now. You know, a song like Love Struck, in my opinion, probably couldn't have existed on any Vertical Horizon record before this one. It just, you know, I really feel inspired by so many different types of music. So I would say to our fans who know us well, there are certainly moments that you'll recognize, but I also think, you know, we're reaching for things that we haven't reached before, and I hope people, you know, like what we're doing. But mostly it's a genuine passion to be creating new songs and new styles and embracing new styles and playing new music, and that, you know, that's the thing that keeps us going at this point.
Now, the tune I've been the most drawn to, and I caught that evolution, I think, in this tune a little bit, was the tune Evermore. I just love that tune.
Oh,
and is there a story behind it, and can you tell me the background of that song?
Yeah, you know, it comes from personal experience, as most of my songs do. You know, there's that thing where if you're in a relationship with somebody and you feel like they've already started to move on, that there's something inside of them that's calling them away from you. It's a really, really tough thing to feel, and it's a really tough thing to deal with. And you want to talk about it, but they don't necessarily want to talk about it with you, and they might not even be able to talk about it because they may not realize what's happening. But it's like that feeling of being in a conversation with someone who's just looking at around the room for other people to talk to. I think that sometimes in a romantic relationship you can get that feeling that person is doing that. And that's what that song is about. And you're absolutely right. That song completely embraces, on some levels maybe more than any other on the record, sort of some of the new stuff that we're trying to bring to the table, and yet at the same time it really is fully committed to the roots of this band, which is, you know, really in that kind of rock, you know, songs, but still rock world. I'm really glad you like that one. That's one of my favorites on the record.
Drew onto it right away, man, and I didn't even get through the whole album before I hit repeat on that one. I love that, dude. Now, I gotta admit this to you, I didn't realize, all the time I was listening to Burning the Days, I had no idea that Neil Peart was on that album, and then I just now figured it out. Tell me about your relationship with Neil Peart of Rush. Well,
you know, it goes back a few years now. It just coincidence sort of brought us together. And I have always been a massive Rush fan. They're probably my favorite band of all time. And just, it turns out they're just wonderful guys. And when I met Neil, I didn't really know what to say because, you know, when a band has had that profound an impact on you, you want to acknowledge it, and yet at the same time, you don't want to be, you know, crazy fan guy. And it was, as I was debating what to say and how to say it, he reached out his hand to me and said, you know, I'm a big fan of your work. which floored me, and yet at the same time also liberated me to be just a human being talking to another human being. And that's really how he and I have progressed. He's one of my dearest friends in the world. I absolutely love him like a brother, like a big brother. You know, he's a super, super guy, an incredibly passionate and driven guy who, you know, deserves every bit of success that he's achieved, and likewise to Geddy and Alex. I mean, they are an incredibly iconic and important band, and finally they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And so for me to have Neil participate now in 2 records in a row is just it's a thrill and an honor, frankly, that my dear friend would sort of contribute his musical chops to this endeavor. It's amazing being in the studio with him. I mean, he beats the crap out of those drums, and they sound amazing.
You know, and the funny thing about that is my favorite song for Burning the Days has always been Save Me From Myself. And now I listen to it in a different way now that I know that Neil's playing drums on that tune.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, that's a really interesting story, actually, to me at least. Hopefully to you and to other people. You know, I wrote that song with a very straight-ahead drum beat in mind, very, very, rudimentary, basic thing. And when I played the song for him, he came up with that incredible ride pattern in the verses. You know, the drums in that song are a very, very purposeful and beautiful artistic statement within the confines of being a pretty straight-ahead rock tune. You know, he just has this personality, this voice, you know. But by the same token, I think it's important. Sometimes people, you know, they give him the moniker of somebody who sort of overplays or is quote unquote too busy. You know, there are plenty of people who, in my opinion, rightfully acknowledge him as the greatest drummer of all time. But there are some people who sort of, you know, use some of his flourishes against him. And I think that song is a real great example of a guy who plays for the vocal. He plays for the song as much as or better than anybody. I mean, it's pretty stunning. You know, I love his performances.
Yeah, you got to go back for those listening and check out. If you don't already know that song, A, it's a super cool song and my favorite one on that album, and B, listen to Neil. Everything you're saying is so true about his drumming on that tune.
Cool.
Now, as long as we're dropping names, I was also surprised to see Richard Marx touring with you. How did that happen?
Well, he and I met years ago when the Super Bowl was in Tampa. I don't know if that was 7 years ago or something like that. He was playing, you know, they had concerts all over town, and he was playing the same night as us. So my our bass player knew his drummer, and so we hoofed it over to his show. I wanted to say hi because I was a big fan, and all those early records, you know, well, all the records really, but the early records with Mike Landau and Steve Lucas are playing guitar. I just ate those records up. You know, I learned as much as I could play. I learned every nuance of those guitar parts because they were, to me, just perfect pop rock bits and pieces. And you know, and the songs were tremendous, great pop songs. And so I wanted to tell him, you know. And it was another instance of somebody just saying, "Hey, I love your band." I mean, you know, Richard was just effusive from the get-go. Which, to me, is just another example of, you know, this stunningly talented guy who has great respect and love for what we do and what we've done. I mean, I don't really know how to place that, but it's a very rewarding feeling. And so he and I, you know, struck up a friendship. It was probably a couple of years or so of just occasional correspondence before we decided to get together and try and write, and spent a few days in Chicago working together. And at that time, we realized sort of how simpatico we were as people, and since then we've just become great friends. He's one of my best friends in the world, and another brother to me, just a tremendous guy. So he wrote. I asked him to come up with an idea for a song that I wouldn't write on my own. And we sort of push each other that way sometimes. It's pretty great. And he came up with the idea for "You Never Let Me Down," which is the first song on Echoes from the Underground. And it's the concept of it is sort of, you know, just when you're happy, you know, looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, you know, just when you're happy and things are going great, you always screw it up. So the lyric in the chorus, you know, happiness is overrated. I need something to complicate it, and you never let me down. You know, talking to yourself in the mirror. And so it was a really cool idea. And so he and I fleshed out, you know, everything else from there. But it was his original seed of an idea, and the music. A lot of the chord changes were something that he brought to the table, which is really fun for me. And then, you know, he in addition, I think it was an important thing to mention, you know, when I started singing this record, I had a flu for about a month, and I was supposed to be singing the record, so I got a little impatient with myself, and I started singing it before I should have. I wasn't totally healed, and the tone of my voice wasn't where it needed to be, but I sort of, in a sort of pig-headed fashion, you know, I'm a stubborn New Englander that way. I just kind of, you know, said, you know, soldier on, boy, and sing the darn record. And when I finished it after, you know, 2 or 3 weeks of constant, tough, you know, hard work, I had to, you know, as the producer, I had to make the tough executive call that it just wasn't good enough. It didn't sound good enough, and so I stopped, took about a month away from it, and called Richard and said, "Hey, buddy, I need your help to get me going again." You know, my confidence was a little shaken by the experience, and he came into town and spent the day with me working on, or 2 days, I think it was, working on the vocal for "You Never Let Me Down" and the vocal for "Half Light." And he really just sort of, you know, gave me that pep talk, you know, that a brother would give you, and sort of set me on my way again, which was great. You know, he's an incredible producer because he can sing the stuff that he's asking you to sing. You know, sometimes when producers come to it from another place where they're thinking, well, make that sound a little bit more orange. You know, that's tough to do. But when someone says sing it like this, at least it's a good starting point, and you know, it's good direction. So. A long answer, but that's how Richard was involved. No,
but it's an awesome answer because now that I know the story behind it, I can hear his mark on that song.
Yeah,
and with his background of pop and that 80s kind of late 80s, early 90s kind of thing, man, that's so cool to hear that story. So, thank you for that. And so it looks like you're kicking off 2014 in South America and Europe. Is that right?
Actually, the South America thing I don't know about. Maybe we are. Maybe we are. Maybe you know something
about what's on your.
Maybe you know something I don't know. As of now, I think all the dates are sort of yet to be confirmed. I think we're still putting stuff together, so I wouldn't want to commit to where we are or aren't going to be just yet.
Well, I was happy for you guys.
There'll be a lot of touring. There'll be a lot of touring this year. That I know.
Well, I hope a lot of it's here in the States, and I hope you make it out to the East Coast, you know, for some dates. We'd love to see you again, and so, man, hey, one last thing. So I had Everything You Want Is My Ringtone for years on my phone. Where is the strangest place you've heard one of your tunes playing?
Well, you know, that's a very easy answer for me, but it's not actually me. I didn't personally hear it, but it was my brother, so I think it counts. He was in Nepal, hiking near Mount Everest, in a little village, where he was going to spend the night, and as he was walking through this town, no cars, just, you know, footpaths basically, he heard a transistor radio in one of the shops. A guy who was a weaver, he was playing the Everything You Want record. So that, I think that counts as the most out of the way place, and I loved hearing that.
That definitely counts, man. Matt, hey, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was my pleasure to have you on the show, and we're going to keep playing tunes from Echoes from the Underground, and encouraging everybody to get out there and get that one and see you guys live. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, K-Rock. Thanks for having me, man.